All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the other apostles and the other bishops of Great Millstone who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Achaim here pushing his gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability given to them by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is your brother Quanah Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. And in this lesson, man, we're going to ultimately touch on this bill, that ultimately, Arizona, has, basically, the Senate has passed, a bill dealing with, these anti-transformer bills that have ultimately really been popping up all over the place, right? All over the country, since, Donald Trump, getting put, back into office, right? This is a whole new direction that, Esau is having the government, go, right? For 15 plus years, right? It's been, pushing Moism, transformerism, right? Going back, when, Obama, first got into office, I think it was 2008, and him, passing, Mo bills and whatnot, and it just building from there. Really, it was, it started prior to that, right? Prior to him actually coming in, right? There was Mo's already all over the place, right? That's just Esau Edom and who he is, and we started to see him really push that as far as government policy and bills, and it's been built up to where it is now. But now what Esau is doing is now he's coming crashing down on this society that he pushed, right? Or this way of life that he pushed for so long. Right now he's coming in and basically demonizing it, which, this lifestyle is wicked, right? Man sleeping with man, woman sleeping with woman, that is a wicked lifestyle because, according to the law, that's, sin unto death, right? That's a sin that is unto death, right? You laying down, or a man laying with another man, right? And a woman laying with another woman, as well as, people laying down with, animals and whatnot, right? All that shit is wicked, and all that shit is unto death, man, So Esau has pushed this death lifestyle, and the people of Grit have taken hold on it, and now he's coming down, condemning it, which this, this condemnation, right? These writing of these bills coming against the lifestyle that he ultimately pushed, right, is going to cause for, an uprising, because again, he's now telling you the thing that he was giving to you and telling you that was, legit and good. He's now telling you that it is, evil, right? And this is all coming, while, the economy is sharply declining, sharply declining, right? So the people are already feeling that type of pressure, as far as, being able to spend money, right? Doing what they want to do, right? Because prices for everything else, right? Daily essentials has gone up, food, water, right? Rent, car payment, all those things have, ultimately gone up, and now they're dealing with, their, if you will, right, established rights, right, basically being taken away. These people are going to wig out, man. These people are going to straight up, buck up against the system, man. But see, this was a planned, situation. This was all planned, right? Esau Edom, right? This is all part of his, you know, plans, right? Let me grab this in Psalm 64, you know, in verse 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And we understand that Esau has these different summits, right, and meetings and whatnot. And, you know, he comes up with these, you know, elaborate, you know, and thought out and drawn out plans, right? These plans, right, you know, because Esau works in gradualism, right? These same plans, right, they'll take years and decades and even generations, you know, to even be fulfilled, man. That's how this damn devil thinks, right? Because these scriptures say that he sleep not lest he cause some to fall. So he's all about wickedness and how he can prolong, right, the defects, or it's like the effects of you know, wickedness on the people. You know, this is what he is about, man. And again, in these different meetings, right, he creates these plans, and this Moism, right, this lifestyle being pushed, right, was one of them, right? Because first and foremost, we understand, right, that he is the wicked, man, right? Let's go ahead and grab this precept real quick. In Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 16, it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Right, so Esau, Edom, right, basically gave up, you know, his birthright, man. Right? Why? Because first and foremost, right, it was preordained, you know, that he would, you know, that this whole situation would happen, man. You know, and now we see where he's at, right? Esau is, you know, he's on top, right? He gave up that blessing and received the blessing of being, you know, the fatness of the earth and the blessing of the sword. You know, and see who he is being revealed by how the people are, right? Because as we read in Sirach, the 10th chapter, right, it tells you that as the judge is, right, so are his officers and those that dwell under him, roughly paraphrasing, man, right? So Esau being put on top, Esau being, you know, put, you know, in power, right? We see through the people, right, who he is. And we see that he's wicked, man. We see that he is evil, right? That's what it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person. He's outside the temple, man, right? He's outside the temple. Meaning he's not involved, you know, in the truth, man. He's not involved in the proper understanding of the scriptures. Here it is. He has, you know, the Bible, right? It's the number one bought, the number one produced, and the number one stolen book in the world. And he's not, you know, basically enforcing the scriptures, right? He's not, you know, following the scriptures himself, you know, which is also how we know that those that are over there in the land, right, are not the people, right? Because the scriptures talk about, right, that all the nations would come up, you know, and keep the commandments, man, following the Israelites. Right, beginning with the elect, right, which are going to be again at that time in the new covenant, right, the new covenant, perfectly serving Yahweh Shemel Shai, never going off again, being on top, right. But see, these people that are out here in the land and Esau, Edom, right here in America, really all over the world, right, they're not the people, man, because they don't fit those scriptures. Right, as far as them being in power and what it would look like if they were the Israelites, right? So they don't fit those scriptures. So that's how we know, right? We know that they are not the people. They are the wicked that the Bible speaks of, Job 9:24, man. And again, that they have pushed, you know, such a wicked and evil lifestyle, right? And have gotten the people to, you know, to take hold of that, man. You know, and then here you go, right? Now they're saying, this is on the Newsbreak app. It says anti-transformer bill and executive orders are reshaping campus life in Arizona, right? And it's not just campuses, right? It says the proud flags wave on the building of a community church of hope at 7th Ave, Phoenix Melrose District, March 3rd, 2025. The Melrose District is a very popular area for members of the Alphabet Subaru community, with several businesses and bars that proudly offer a place for community, right? It says lawmakers across the country, right? This isn't just here in Arizona, right? This is across the country, right? Many different states, right? Are introducing anti-transformer bills at increasing rates, with the numbers sparking more than 28 times higher from 30 in 2018, right? A year, 2 years before the scamdemic, right? It says to 859 bills this year, right? This is 2025, and you know what? And it, again, it jumped to such, high rates when narrow Donald Trump, ultimately, came into office, man, and he was talking like this, man, right? Because Esau's starting to show his true colors, man, right? Who he is, and really Esau's speeding things up, and Donald Trump, right, very well could be that one that could set everything off, right? We believe that within his administration, this 4 years that he's got, right? Well, now 3.5, right? That he's ultimately going to, set off Jacob's trouble and whatnot. Well, we believe that through faith, man, right? We hope, right? But this is why it's happening like that, right? Esau's, setting his foot down, right? It says these bills often make accessing health care, and some argue the right to exist publicly, difficult by creating legal red tape which exacerbates mental and emotional distress. And see, this is what Esau wants, though, right? Esau, wants to be able to take away, your freedoms and whatnot, right? This is all part of, Revelations, the 13th chapter, going into verse 16 to 17, right? Esau is ultimately going to, put you people in a position where he's going to take everything away from you, right? This constitution is not, has basically been done away with already, man. You average people, you don't have, right, those American rights and that were given by, the forefathers and whatnot. No, y'all people don't have them, right? The freedom of speech, right? They're taking that shit away, man. We seen that heavily, right, during the scamdemic, right? Their brothers' videos were going down left and freaking right, man. Whole channels are being snatched. So freedom of speech, is out the window, as well as, again, other rights, right, that were established, that were federally recognized. Hey, those things are starting to, be challenged, and taken away, So yes, Esau is trying to make it to where your everyday lives, right, are basically under his control, right? He's taking away, what you want to do, right? And he's saying, no, you're going to do what we want you to do, right? That's the whole lifestyle that he's trying to push, right? Go pursuing the 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4, right? He wants to be in control, right? It says some members of the Q communities report feeling more vulnerable to discrimination in public, at schools and workplaces, and within healthcare systems, right? It says currently the Arizona legislature is considering anti-11 transformer bills in addition to the 2 that have been vetoed. They would impact education, birth certificates, employment, healthcare, and more, right? So it's an all-around, attack on their, rights, which, again, right, first and foremost, right, this is a good thing, right? These people don't deserve no fucking rights, man. Right? Yahweh Shemel Shai created male and created female. He didn't create a man to be with another man. Right? From Adam, he created Eve. Right? First came the man, then came the woman. Right? As the scriptures say, right? And that the woman was made for the man. It didn't say a man was made for a man. Right? So all this shit is wicked, man. And Yahweh Shemel Shai, the Wadi Yahweh Shemel Shai, he's, having those damn devils ultimately come against, right? Against these people, man. But again, still with, the understanding that we know that Esau Edom, created this whole plan, right? Which is part of the NWO, But ultimately, at the end of the day, we do understand that Yahweh Shemel Shai, is the one that's in control, Proverbs 21:1, It says in March, the Arizona Senate passed Senate Bill 1002, in its third reading, it now also passed through the House. It says for students under 18, written parental consent will be required for school district employees or independent contractors to call students by names that differ from the ones on their government-issued documents. They also are prohibited from using pronouns that don't match the person's biological sex, which, so you got some people that are saying, oh, I want, what are your pronouns? They, them, whatever, so on and so forth. Right, this, or whatever the fuck bullshit they coming up with. Right now, they're not gonna say that. Now you can't say, oh, it is offensive and take me to court and pull up all these different, rights and this, that, and the third against it. Right? They're taking all that shit away, man. They're taking all that shit away. It says at a Senate meeting on February 20th, Senator John Kavanaugh, right, of Fountain Hills, it says, who sponsored SB 1002 and other bills like it, defended his vote, saying this bill is was very simply about parents' rights to direct the health care of their children, which we're not ignorant to saying devices, right? We understand what this is about. This is ultimately to put that pressure, on these people. Again, he gave them, certain rights, allowed them to act certain ways, and feel that type of freedom. But now he's sitting there taking it all away, taking it all away, and that's going to cause, again, an uprising, right? Which we're already seeing, right? We were told that we would see, uproars of the people, right? Pursuant to 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter, right? You're already seeing people just based off of these tariffs, right? This trade war that's going on. These people are already, having major protests really all around the world, right? Even including here in America, right? But see, this right here as well, right, is going to hit, another, if you will, another group of people, right, even harder, which a lot of these people out here are moles and effeminate men and whatnot, man, right? So really it's going to affect, majority of these people, especially the younger crowd, right? It's going to affect majority of the people, but it's really, again, it's a targeting, a certain crowd, and that's just going to cause and put more pressure on the people, so I'm going to grab this right here in Job 20 and was it 23? Verse 22. It says Job 20 and 22. And Salakia, I don't have it highlighted, it's a new phone, so I don't really have too much of my, highlights. But verse 22 is the point, right? It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Right? It says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And the wicked is going into these laborers, right? These everyday people, right? Because even these Moes and in the alphabet soup group, they still have to go to work, right? They still have to, pay bills and whatnot, right? They're not exempt, So with the trade wars and this, that, and the third, happening and taking place, right? These people are feeling that pressure. Right, and they're going to, as they are now, there are uproars, right? It's going to turn into, complete chaos, man. There are going to be riots in the streets, like the LA riots, if not worse. You can look those up, right? LA riots, Los Angeles riots, Los Angeles, California riots, which was bad. I think it was like 1992 or something like that, 1990 or something, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been earlier in the 80s, right? But I'm pretty sure it was in the 90s, the early 90s, Those were bad times, man. The times that are coming are going to be even worse, right? Dealing with, uproars of the people, man. It's going to be complete and utter chaos. And then on top of that, right, Esau's throwing in these different bills, taking away certain rights, right? Taking away that mirth even more, right? As it says right here, what does it say? Isaiah 24, and I'll start right here at verse 8. I'll start at verse 8. Isaiah 24, verse 8 says, the mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. Man, you got a lot less people. I remember seeing a picture. I think it was like a month or two ago. Yeah, it was like in March sometime, right? Time around the Passover, man. And it was basically a before and a 2024 picture and a 2025 picture, and it was of spring break. I'm thinking, maybe somewhere out the East Coast, like Virginia Beach, maybe Myrtle Beach, somewhere, man. Over there in the East Coast, man, and it was, 2024 packed. We're talking about thousands of people in the streets, bro. We talking about Jake, right up to the brim. 2025, nobody on the crickets. Prices are going up even more. The tariffs, bro, in the next month or two, we're going to see even more uproars, even more constraint on the people. More videos going out of people being in a shitty situation. Right? We're going to start to see this a lot more, right? Because that joy is fading quickly. It says, they shall not drink wine with song. They shall drink, it's like a strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it, right? Because again, they're not going to be able to drink it with fun, man. They're just going to be in sorrows, and depression. Suicides are going to go up, man, right? Especially amongst, the alphabet soup groups, man, right? Because they were talking about it, something called in that same article, which you can go back and look it up and read it. But they were talking about gender. Matter of fact, let's go back and read it. It says, when you drop down, it says he cited. This is going back up to the senator, right? Senator Kavanaugh. It says he cited gender dysphoria treatment as a reason for needing parental consent. Some of these children that are transformers may suffer from a psychological condition called gender dysphoria, which causes depression and, in some students, suicidal thoughts. So that's gonna elevate, right? And the actual action behind it is gonna elevate as well. Which the scriptures say, scriptures are against that as well, right? Now, not, committing suicide, not taking your own life, as the scriptures say, man, so that's, you're, let me try to find that scripture real quick. Okay, I found it. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 12. It says, seek not death in the era of your life, right? So don't be, you're not supposed to commit suicide, man. That's against the scriptures. It's in, pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your own hands, right? And again, that's going to, going to increase, right? With everything that we're seeing here, which is ultimately a part of the scriptures as well. Right, as we read in Psalms, the 91st chapter, right, talking about 1,000 shall fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right side, roughly paraphrasing, right, we're going to see an uptick in death, people committing suicide, people, killing each other, right, because of these, again, the way of life is drastically declining here in America, and these people were not built to handle no poverty. These people weren't built to handle certain rights being taken away like these other people in other countries are, man. So it's going to be really bad here in America, man. And that's all I wanted to grab on that article, so we'll go back to that Isaiah, the 24th chapter. Isaiah 24. And I'll read verse 9 again. It says, they shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. So America, again, that American dream, that American lifestyle is crumbling, right? We're seeing it, right? And these people are feeling it. They're seeing it as well, that being how you want to be, or being who whatever you want, whoever you want, right? That shit's coming to an end, right? Esau is taking that shit away, man. You know, again, putting that, you know, that boa constrictor hold on the people, man. You know, and again, it's all for, you know, his NWO, right? And wanting to, you know, basically get the people in line, you know. But see, again, these people, right, especially these Americans, you know, are not gonna just, you know, bend to his will, man. These people want their rights, their freedoms, you know. And this is what's gonna cause, you know, that uprising. This is what's gonna cause, you know, Jacob's trouble to pop off, you know, because they're not with it, man. You know, they're not just gonna go quietly. They want their rights, you know. But see, this is all part of his plan, right? 2 Corinthians 2:11. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, his evil plots and schemes, right? We knew this is coming, right? Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah had prepared us, right, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah, right, for what is coming, right? By allowing us to get this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Because as it says in Isaiah 33 and verse 6, it says, "In wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and the strength of salvation." The fear, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures is what's going to allow us to get out of here. Because as we get into the scriptures, right, we see that our forefathers were put in times of trouble as well, right? And there was one key and main ingredient, right, that they all had, right, that ultimately, you know, allowed for them to be able to escape those situations, and that's faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah, you know. And that's something that we have to have as well, right? Which is, you know, really, it comes from Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah. It's a gift, right? And those that Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah hath ultimately given that gift to, and we gotta take that talent and multiply that talent, right? Which shows our faith, you know. We got to take that gift of faith and show the Lord that we really have it and that we really cherish it by again keeping the law, statutes, commandments to the best of our ability, you know, fearing Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah, because as it says right here, it says the fear of the Lord is his treasure, right? And we know that, you know, the fear of the Lord is the first step of being accepted of him. That's why it says in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, fear the Lord and keep his commandments. It's the whole duty of man, you know, to the best of our ability, man. We have to. And Lord, will we be of that number? And that's how we're going to get out of here, man. Attaining this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, fearing Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah, and keeping the commandments of our best of our ability. And keeping, first and foremost, faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah all the way into the end, man. Right? Because troubles are going to arise. Right? Troubles are coming. But as long as we stay faithful to Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah, we ain't got nothing to worry about, man. And I'll go ahead and close out by bringing out this scripture, 2nd Esdras, chapter 16, and verse 74. It says, "Hear, O ye my beloved," right? And when you go into that word, you know, the name of David, right? Dawadah, right? It means beloved, right? So this is really speaking to, you know, the elect, right? The Bayath Dawadah, the house of David, right? It says, "Hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand." And this is about to hit the fan, man. Right, with everything that's coming or everything that's going on, it can really, you know, pop off at any moment, man. Really, at any time, at any moment, right? And we got to stay ready, right? As they say, right? You stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right? We got to consistently hope and pray and watch consistently, man. You can't miss a day, really. You know. It says, "But I will deliver you from the same." And again, it's through our faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah is how that deliverance is going to come. Right? Because without faith, it is impossible to please Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah. You know, and those that please the Lord, you know, are the ones the Lord is ultimately going to do miracles for. Right? As the Elder Yashawamba, you know, beautifully states, right? Faith provokes miracles. You know, our faith is going to provoke, you know, our deliverance. You know? It says, "Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your God." And again, the Lord said what? He gave us not the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Because we understand and we know, right? We look in the generations of old, we see the Lord ultimately has delivered, right, all those that trusted and believe in him. And guess what? We trust and believe in Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shah, and we're proving it daily. You know, so we have nothing to fear. You know, nothing to fear. It says, "In the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts," man. And that's something, again, we have to continue to strive to do every single day. right? Scriptures talk about, the matter of fact, I was reading it earlier. I'll bring it out right now. Psalms 1:1. It says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful." Right? Not being around these wicked ass people out here, man. Because this right here embodies majority of these people out here in this world. Right? People at our work, right? People in our neighborhoods, right? The people we deal with on a daily, right? These people are wicked and evil. Especially Esau, Edom, and 2/3 Jakes, man. But really all these people out here, right? Other than those that are of the, the household of faith, It says, "Blessed is that person that walketh not with those people," man. Blessed means highly favored and very fortunate, which walking with those people means you walk, that broad and wide path. But see, the Lord ain't dealing with the broad and wide path. He's dealing with the straight and narrow, those who walk contrary, right? Because as it says right here, but his delight, right? That man that walks contrary, right? His delight is in the law of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, meaning the scriptures, right? The commandments. It says, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So this is something that we got to be, meditating on consistently, man. Consistently. It says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the waters. It's like a planted by the rivers of waters, and bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Right? Joshua 1:8. Right? That when you meditate on these scriptures, man, then shall ye prosper. Then shall ye have good success. Right? And this is ultimately what makes us different from the rest of these people as well, man. Is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Yahweh Bashim Shah, trusting and believing in Yahweh Bashim Shah makes us completely different than these people. Makes us better than them, man. Right? Of course, we walk, humbly. We're not going out here telling, oh, I'm better than you. No, man. Yahweh Shah didn't do that. So we ain't gonna do it either, man. But understanding that, with Yahweh Bashim Shai, hey, we can do all things, man. And it's beautiful, man. It says the ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. And these people are gonna be taken the fuck out, man. It says, therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. It says, for the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. There you go, man. All right, so let's go ahead and go back. 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 74. It's like in verse 76, and we'll close out. It says, in the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. That's right, man. Right? Hey, call and pray to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man, for forgiveness, man. Understand Yahweh's sacrifice. Understand grace. Understand the mercy of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Walk humbly with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Fast. Pray. And offend less as much as you can, man, every single day, and Lord will we be part of the elect. Hey, we getting out of here soon, man, but that's all I got, man. Lord will is edifying. Lord will straight to the point. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak Wadash. Again, double honors to the elder apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.